this up a little bit. Okay, good evening, everyone. Hope everyone can hear me. Let's see if I am on. This is day 1372 days, I should say, like day 2, right? Like, for accountability. Um, anyway, let's see if I'm on. Looks like everything is working. Okay, looks like everyone can hear me. That's wonderful. Okay, so much going on, which is good news, right? Good news. Now, a couple days ago, the Department of Defense, the Department of the Army, gave us a notice of death for our son. They admitted what we have known from day one. And I can honestly prove that we knew that day one because Captain Yoshida was crying. He was crying when we called. And, you know, he wouldn't be crying if, Richard had just left, No, he was shaky. He was crying. And it really upset my husband because he knew. We knew. So we have this declaration, it's called the notice of death for Richard now. And what do we know with that, right? We know that Richard was murdered. We know he was murdered. And there was a lot of action to cover up the murder. And we saw it. We've lived it. It was really the only... I've described it. I've tried to stay calm. Sometimes I didn't stay calm, of course. When you're crying every day at the beginning, you're just... the emotions, the sadness of the whole situation, knowing that your son was murdered, that you were kicked out of getting any kind of jurisdictional help, and then not knowing what to do and talking to people and them constantly saying that they didn't have jurisdiction, that they couldn't help you. And I remember one Navy NCIS called and said, "Ma'am, your dad came to see me personally, and I will do whatever I can to help you," right? Which was limited. He said, "It's limited, but I will do whatever I can." And I just cried and cried. And he's like, "Why are you crying?" And I said, "Well, you're the first person that said that you would help, because even the media was not helping." And that was so odd. You would think, and I'm not saying all media, I'm saying some really important media that we had talked to. And, there were some stories and that. And of course, we found out that those medias that were doing damage that we couldn't understand. We couldn't understand, why would they target a missing soldier? Here the narrative is that Richard walked away, that he's a missing soldier. Why would they be targeting him, especially in the wake of Vanessa Guillen and Gregory Morales? Oh, Weddle Morales, right? Why would they be targeting Richard like this? It was, very, very odd that they would, you would think that they would just say, "Look, we need to find the soldier and then we'll analyze it further. But let's find our soldier. This is America's soldier," And that didn't happen. That wasn't happening. And when we got into the media and we had success. And so the CID brought Richard back onto the rolls, which gave them some jurisdiction to say that they were going to help. Um, Time went by, and they were telling us that we need to investigate, and so we investigated, and we were finding um, our way. We were finding our way. And we learned through different investigators, our experience, that you had to separate the evidence, that you had to separate the possibilities of what happened to Richard. And we started doing that. We just started organizing the information that we had, and we put them on charts, right? And KTSM came in to where we were staying and saw our charts. We invited them to see our charts because we have nothing to hide, and we knew that Richard had nothing to hide. And we asked the military for help with his finances and everything like that, and they denied us. They've still denied us. So this notice of death is very helpful for that, because finally we'll be able to manage his financial affairs, which we've been thinking about that and relooking at that, and with a different set of eyes. And Richard, his finances show him to be such a humble, honorable person. Remember that video where he's saying, "I rather burn my money than spend it on whores and blow"? He wasn't spending any money on whores and blow. He was saving his money. He had some Bitcoin. He had a humble vehicle, right? A Toyota, a good vehicle, humble vehicle, a used one. His finances show him to be studious. Okay, he had a game machine, and we always had one of those because we watched our DVDs on it, and we liked, when you live in Ireland for a long period of time and you understand how dark the winters are. It's not so much cold, it's just very dark. You have long, dark days. So we would, we really love the Sony game. I don't know all the different names. Our sons know it all. But, we like to do Just Dance, and we, played the tank game and, yeah. So that was part of our entertainment. He had one of those. I mean, he had a phone. His phone went missing. And, Richard wasn't a whiner. And so we don't believe that he lost his phone anymore. We don't buy his story after knowing what we know about his vehicle now, and about his platoon leader, which leads us to the suspects, because we absolutely feel that his phone, that there's foul play around his phone. And those that are in law enforcement absolutely know about how important the phones are. And we know that there was a man inside that was a CID agent, and that's Tavita Nuusa, right? We know that. And we know that in this report that we just received, the Army confirmed that this was an inside job, which we knew, and that it was inside job by CID. We know that because of the Interpol relationship with CID, with the Department of State. Okay. And why is the Department of State involved? Because we know that partial remains of our son was found in Mexico. All right. And we have collected so much different types of evidence, hard evidence, circumstantial evidence, and irregularities, right? And so this all points to, a big puzzle. We've put the pieces together, and so we can clearly see who the suspects are and the motive, and how large this case is, being a binational case, and what parts the some in the media played, what parts some in different agencies. And by no means at this time, at the beginning I was frustrated, and when you're frustrated, you might say, "Oh, it's the Army," or "Oh, it's the FBI," "Oh, it's a CID." I want to tell you, it really is the criminals that are holding these positions, and they need to be held accountable, and they need to be stripped of their authority, of their position, and we need to give those positions to honorable people in the law enforcement, which there are, because I was really thinking about Anthony Swafford today so much, because he was, I think he's a victim. And I think that he might have learned a huge lesson with this, a young soldier listening to his guard mount, thinking that what he was being told at the guard mount was true, and I don't blame him for that. But what I do think is so bad is that Richard is a missing soldier. And every military police that was listening to that guard mount should have stood up and said, "We don't care what you have to say. We have to find the soldier," right? Because we don't leave anyone behind. We are, we are an army of, and that didn't happen because the leadership that's going on is anti-Army of One, anti-we leave no one behind, anti-esprit de corps. And we see that in the obvious evidence every day. And so that's why we hold Major General Eisenhower accountable for what happened to Richard, because he's had an opportunity in this horrible situation to correct the security problems on Fort Bliss that led to what happened to Richard. And so what is the motive? The motive is Richard was a whistleblower, and absolutely he was blowing the whistle on Dallas Hart. Okay? Absolutely. And Belen Rocha. This group, these couple families, they're connected families. He was blowing the whistle on them. And why do we know that? Because of all the evidence and Leilani Hart targeting our son's case with her lover, Tavita Nuusa. And how do we know that? Because James Courtney Hart corroborated that. James Courtney Hart, in a phone call, corroborated that. And their misinformation together, like Dallas would say, "Oh, I don't know that Travis character," and then Leilani says, "Oh, this is my nephew." And then the police report, "Oh, this is my relative." Then James Courtney Hart, "Oh yeah, they're cousins." So it's, there's inconsistencies there, and that happens when you're being fed a bunch of lies, right? When you're trying to cover up and all of that. But we have eyewitnesses that they had a relationship that was not what cousins have or what cousins should have. And that was corroborated also by James Courtney Hart. Okay. So this was an illegal relationship. And of course, uh, we have a judge whistleblower, very important to know in his official capacity, that knows how to fill out FBI complaints and send it out to many different agencies and individuals that are key to the oversight of Fort Bliss and what's happening there to protect our service members. Just like Major General Eisenhower, absolutely, he has to protect his service members. And especially in El Paso, that's borderland, So on Fort Bliss, you have an extra duty. You have a lot of things happening there in the borderland. And for the sake of your soldiers, you have to be extra vigilant, that they are cared for, that you, I would say, defend them, that you would defend them. I mean, that's what leaders do. That's what parents do. We defend our children, right? We defend our family. We defend our home. And, so that is absolutely, he has an obligation to do that as the commanding general of Fort Bliss. And he failed our son. He absolutely failed our son. And, you can say, well, he wasn't there at the time. That was, what was that guy's name? I always forget his name. I guess I have this, I don't even want to think about how evil the general was. Patrick, is his first name. Anyway, and then of course Clem Coward, who is, totally implicated in all of this with the failure to our service members. And, and then the media coming in, and it wasn't all the media, it was a certain pattern of media. Of course, that all happened starting with Danae, right? KTSM with Danae. And Danae didn't do that all by herself. I'm going to tell you that right now. She didn't do that. Of course, she's part of the family, the group of people, the family group with Leilani Hart and that. And it gets so convoluted that we want to focus on the prime suspects, right? But it's all connected because this case is so big. It's like, you have Iran-Contra, right? Then you have Fast and Furious, and then you have Richard Halliday, Code Red. And those cases get so convoluted because it takes a network, right, to make it all happen and to cover up. And so, it's, unless you're in this like we are every day, it can get a little mind-boggling. So we're trying to be as authentic as possible and tell you that we're not alone anymore. We're not alone. We have ongoing investigations right now, ongoing criminal investigations. And let me even correct that. We have ongoing international investigations. And so we are so happy we finally received the notice of death, because we knew that was the case from day one, and not having it was preventing the investigations from moving forward, right? Well, now we have it. And now the investigations are in full force. And that's why I'm just a little kind of slow this evening, because we are on the phone constantly. I've been on the phone constantly all day long. If it's not with those that are investigating and information coming in from the investigations, it is getting calls from media now. and making sure that we make times where we can talk with them. And then, of course, handling the necessary things that need to be done right now with the note with for Richard with the notice of death, like the death certificate, right? That's we see an obstacle with that because the El Paso medical examiner, um, there's real problems with him, okay, with his legality. Um, from what we know, he is not legally in that position. And so you want to go to get a legal document from someone that's not legal, right? So from, it's kind of like going to DA Bill Hicks. You want to get legal help, right? Because he has jurisdiction over Fort Bliss. They have, the power to do an investigation. So you want to go to DA Bill Hicks for help, but yet he's a usurper in the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office. And because of that, he's not legitimate. And so you can't get legal help, right? And, so we have two positions, some of the really two of the most powerful positions there in El Paso that we need to go to for help, yet the justice system is broken in El Paso and the medical examiner's office is also broken. So so we're working that out amongst getting the calls now. Again, thank God. Thank you. And I just want to say to the media out there, and I know there's some media out there that are up to no good, but there is media out there that really want to get this story out, and we are so grateful for your calls. Some that are up to no good don't even want to call, right? I mean, it's kind of like going to Bob Moore and Angela Kachurga. They don't want to call. We've, through these years, have attempted to call over and over and over again. Yet Bob Moore just, he has no respect. He has no respect. He'll collude, conspire with the likes of Leilani Hart. He colluded and conspired with the prime suspect, Dallas Hart's mother, right? So Richard's platoon leader's mother, to interfere using the media to do their little hypnosis trick, get everyone's eyes, swirling, thinking about misinformation instead of getting the facts out there. And he'll use Leilani Hart. And it was wrong because we reported it, that they're interfering with our son's case, that they're using an unreliable source, that we know she has a conviction, that she has a long criminal record, that we have her FBI notarized affidavit that accuses her family of incest, the rape of a 7-year-old active duty Fort Bliss service member, okay, with the little brother there in the same house, in Leilani Hart's master bedroom by multiple members of the family, the purchase of illegal or weapons, the illegal purchasing of weapons is in there. Threats are in there. Of course, the possession of child pornography is in that affidavit. And the FBI says, tells us, that's all a lie. right? That's all a lie. James Courtney Hart corroborates that they were investigating, and that he was in communication with Marlon Soto about the whole thing. And yet, Leilani Hart is never arrested. She's never arrested. They're protecting her, right? So, well, we know now it's because of these family connections, and the media. Think about it. The media is protecting the likes of Leilani Hart, who's having an affair with multiple people, and the man inside, right? The man inside, the CID agent there, and also the man inside of I would say the media, and that would be Bob Moore. Okay? Because he absolutely, and you can go look it up, absolutely colluded with Leilani Hart to do this story that was just a fabrication to hypnotize the public and to interfere with our son's case. Who mentioned Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, who is related to Belinda's grandmother. They're all in business together, these families, and that connects, of course, the Walmart case, and of course Jesus Melendez, the canine cop that is involved in this case that targeted Richard, is also um, connected to the Walmart case. And then, of course, you have Mario Raskin Ortiz, also connected to the Walmart case and to the families. And he's a medical examiner, right? He's the illegal medical examiner. So all of this is like a Iron Contra, a Fast and Furious, and now you have Richard Halliday Code Red. Um, so, that's why the investigations that are ongoing right now are international. That's why there's several of them. And the motive is Richard's whistleblowing. I can tell you what our evidence has led us to believe where the crime scene is. And now, we weren't there. Um, and, but from witness testimonies, from irregularities, we believe and now with this notice of death report confirms that it was on Fort Bliss. Okay, the initial violent act of killing was on Fort Bliss. That's what we believe at this time. Okay, so we allege, I don't even think you can say allege, because we just received this notice of death, and absolutely they confirmed what we have believed with other witness testimonies, and that the violence that killed Richard happened on Fort Bliss. And then they had to get rid of the body. And we believe, because of our military experience, because my husband 30-year military experience, all of our friends military experience, so our expert witnesses, you get expert witnesses that can tell you, and the statements, the illegal orders that were reported to us that Major General Eisenhower was making really raised a lot of flags, because we know that there has to be a bidding for any kind of work done on any building, any kind of renovation. There has to be a bidding. And his illegal orders to have the arms room, the certain arms room, uh, just done with illegally, not to standard operating procedure. See, Major General Eisenhower doesn't care about standard operating procedures. Otherwise, he would secure the barracks and he would secure Fort Bliss, and he would do things the right way. But he doesn't. He doesn't care. He is operating for somebody else, not for the defense of the Constitution. And that's very clear, the way that he has depended on the CID. If you are depending on the CID in this case for the truth, then you don't know this case, because Tavita Nuusa is a CID agent that lost his badge, and the Army now confirmed that the CID was in on it, that they were operating with the Interpol and the Department of State, and they were feeding false information to the law enforcement community. We know that through Anthony Swafford, and that from his that, can you imagine the guard mount, right? And also from the fake picture that was given to Interpol. Okay. And the only, this confirmation that CID is the one that was working with Interpol, that confirmed that the picture that was the superimposed with Dallas Hart's face. Why they would do that, I don't know. Maybe it's some kind of ritual or some kind of joke or whatever. But that's what happened. And, that was coming from CID when Tavita Nuusa was still working in there with Marlon Soto. And there's so much more to go along with that to make us absolutely beyond a reasonable doubt that CID was the man inside. CID, Tavita Nuusa, participated in hurting Richard, processing Richard's remains, because we know that there were partial remains found in Mexico. So they had an order to hide his remains, and that's why we want his remains so bad, right? They had dismembered him. And, this is the hell that we've had to go through. This is the hell, investigating our son's case and learning all of this. This is the hell. And now the same Bob Moore, Angela Kachurga, that are absolutely up to no good and have no respect at all. No respect. No respect for the law. No respect for journalism. No respect for El Pasoans. No respect for the borderland. That would include Juarez. No respect for the dead. No respect. And, I would say that they are giving a good example of using unreliable sources, because who do they go to for their information? They go to a convicted criminal of Dreams Cabaret, Leilani Hart, who is having multiple affairs, no respect for her family, no respect for her son. right? And and also, who is Bob Moore and Angela Katurga going to? The CID in this case. And that, sorry, they are an unreliable source. And to go to Belen Rocha, who is connected to Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, who, is under investigation. These individuals are under investigation. There are multiple criminal investigations going on right now, and they are international investigations. And, so I think uh, I think the people of El Paso, I think people around the world, especially those that know our family, but those that have been watching from the beginning, absolutely knows that a cover up is being attempted. Um, False narratives are being put out there. And that's why, I have to come on every day to make sure that there is uh, some transparency, and that you can call. You can call 941-677-0060, and tell us, where we're right, where we're wrong, to put this together, because from the very, very beginning, we've just wanted the truth about our son. We just want to know where he is, what happened to him, um, and that is talking about his remains. Okay, and with Nadal Baim, which is another aspect of this, um, being an FBI agent, confirming that the FBI had found Richard's remains in Juarez, Mexico, and then we call up the Department of State and they confirm it, and then DHS confirms it, and DES confirms it, and even the Lieutenant General confirms it with his PAO confirms it. Um, Absolutely, Richard was dismembered, and his remains were put in many locations, and that is our um, where the evidence has led us to believe beyond a reasonable doubt. And we have presented that over and over again to different agencies and institutions, which drove the Department of Defense, the Department of the Army, to give us a notice of death. The evidence is so overwhelming, they had no other choice but to give us a notice of death, even without Richard's remains. So what does that mean for us? We still want his remains. We know that Tavita Nuusa, Leilani Hart, and Dallas Hart are our prime suspects. It's the mother, her boyfriend, the man on the inside, two men on the inside, because she has Bob Moore, right? She has Bob Moore on the inside of the media, and Richard's platoon leader, her son, Dallas Hart, and they had motive. And with this notice of death and the death certificate, now the notice of death from the Army, that is, I think, sufficient for many, many different people as a death certificate. And so I think that we can get, because we have now entered Richard's shoes, and we can subpoena. We can get the CPS complaints. We can get the bank accounts. We can get the Park University academic records. We can get it all. We can get, and that's why so so many people are in very, very big trouble. They're in very big trouble because not only can we now uncover the truth, and absolutely we will share that with you, um, because Richard was a yellow Interpol, okay? Yellow Interpol with humble and great character who took a stand against a very criminal network of couple families, and they murdered him. You know, that's that's just where it leads. And you know, so but we're going to let the investigators do what they know how to do best. And we're very grateful for that because it's like, oh, please relieve us from all this investigation. So we can't really interfere with those investigations. When we're at liberty to tell you who they are, what they're doing, we absolutely will. But there's multiple of them and they're international. And we are also getting some really good journalism, uh, uh, some that take the time to call us, that take the time to listen to what we have to say, that take the time to look at the evidence that we have. And those journalists, you know, we're very, very grateful for. The ones that use unreliable sources and are quick to jump without even calling us. You know, who are they? They're just disrespectful people that I would say are criminals, are part of this criminal network. And, you know, their time is running out. And that is really the message that, you know, we want to give is we want to know where our son's remains are. And so we're hoping that they will come forward, that they will know that, and that's why I'm coming on here. There are multiple investigations going on. Richard has now been declared deceased. We can now get information that was previously held from us. And, you know, it's time. Confession is the cure of souls. And, you know, I know that these people are just evil. But in my faith, I have to say it, that the time is come, that they understand that they need to come forward and they need to tell us why is Major General Eisenhower giving unlawful orders to remodel the arms room, right? Why is he doing that? And the arms room has no cameras, lots of weapons, and, you know, would they be brazen enough to murder Richard? Absolutely. Absolutely. They have a history of violence. They have a history of perception that they were untouchable or that they could go through, you know, be above the law, do things that are above the law or outside of the law. You know, one of the Bible studies that I took, and I think it was very helpful, is the one about the temple of the Lord. And being perverse means that you are outside of the temple, right? And what does that mean? It means that you're unlawful, that you have no respect for the law, no respect for the truth, that's journalism, no respect for the dead, no respect for the life of people. And these people are outside the temple. They're perverse. And so they botch the law, they botch the truth in journalism, and they botch respect altogether for life. And even in the death of a person. And can you imagine to murder someone and then to remove them to a place, and we believe it's that Van Buren house. We'll see. They're investigating, and we have information about that motorcycle. That motorcycle. To dismember a human person, to keep them from their loved ones, to hide the crime, how they're just perverse, they're just despicable, and, they're very, very hurtful, that's for sure. And then to cover it up with vile and vulgar, I cannot even tell you, and I have told you, you have followed me. You have followed this family, and a lot of you have experienced the retaliation also. So, yeah. So I'm going to take some messages now. See what's going on. Okay, I'm just finding out about this story. My heart goes out to you. Thank you, Susan. It has been really covered up, shadow banned, whatever, and that's why we've had to come on every day. So Delaris is sending me a link. I'm going to check that. Thank you, Delaris, for that. Should I? Let's see. Program action. Okay. And then, good evening. Thank you so much. Facial recognition needed to use the phone. They probably unlocked it and took it. That's what we believe too, Anicia, that they took his phone. And that's why we believe that the date of death is not accurate. The date that he went missing. That's why we would like his autopsy report. We have an autopsy number. We did get confirmation that it is an accurate autopsy number. The problem is that Mario A. Rascon Ortiz is in that position, and he is connected. He's connected to these families, right? And, just up to no good. Just up to no good. So that explains why we couldn't get any answers for the autopsies that we had, these autopsy numbers and information that we had. So that explains that. And now we have to go to that very office if we want a certificate. We're probably going to use like a different method. We have to figure it all out. But can you believe it? Because we don't want any problems getting all of the information that we need to get to move this forward in getting accountability. When these people are arrested, that's what I'm saying. They just, why can't they have some humanity and just come forward now? Because with this notice of death, we're going to find out. We're going to have access to information that we previously didn't have. This is such a gift from God. And, I've said all along that they can't keep the truth from coming out. And the stars in their course fought against Sisera. As time goes on, the truth comes out. And, we want our son's remains. We can't even stand the thought of what they did to him. And so, we want peace, and to get that peace, we need his remains. Um, and not every capital case, because understand this, uh, this, you have Iran Contra, you have Fast and Furious. Um, Richard Halliday's Code Red case is a capital criminal murder case. That is in Texas. That means the death penalty is on the table. Is on the table. And the Texas death penalty, uh, they are tough. They're not wishy-washy. Look at the numbers. And how do I know this? Because I lived in Texas. I grew up in Texas. I know Texas. They're not wishy. So, yeah, I lost connection. I've seen the gaslighting in these rooms, and I'd sit here and listen to you, and there would be the most disgusting things some people would say. Absolutely. We remember Hema Sochitil and Ruggiero's wife. That's Richard's first sergeant's wife. And then we had the SFC Arona, Sabrina Arona, saying the worst things. Um, these people need to come forward. Okay, come forward, Leilani. Come forward, Dallas Hart. Come forward, Tavita Nuusa. But I would also say that these people at the beginning, um, they're, this is a huge case. And there's so much evidence. It's so clear. It's clear evidence that they were up to no good. And, if I were them, I would come forward. So if I were Ruggiero, I'd cut the BS and come forward. SFC Arona, I would come forward. And his wife needs to come forward. And there was there's so many. Um, so because we're receiving the phone calls from Washington. See, the politicians, they see that we have the notice of death now. They see it. They're lawyers. They see the move forward. They understand. So now they're giving us calls and giving us condolences and saying they're there for us now and that. That's important. You can say, what rotten people, where were they when you needed them? Yeah, but what this means is that on April 24th, 2024, everything changed. Everything changed legally. Legally. And so all the work that we have put in is now, it's kind of like Little Red Hen. Who's going to help me? I found some seed. Who's going to help me sow the seed? Not I, not I, not I. Who's going to help me water the seed? Not I, not I, not I. Who's going to help me hoe around and weed around the seed so it can grow the little plants? Oh, not I, not I, not I. And then who's going to, help me reap? Who's going to help me reap the seed? Who's going to help me go to the mill and mill this wheat? Who's going to help me bake the bread? And you keep getting, no, but when you get to the part where who can help me eat it, that it's all like, oh, I will. It smelled so good. Oh, I will. This is what's happened. Who's now going to be part of the accountability? Because you have all this work, this investigation to get to the notice of death. And now you have the bread, the baked bread. And that's why the politicians are coming. They want to help eat it. They, they want to have their name on the accountability, the winning case. And, if you're going to want to, I guess, feather your nest or whatever, put it on your CV, you want to be part of Richard Halliday Code Red. That's what's happening right now. And the people that have guilt in this, that are liable, are going to try to put the narrative a little bit. But it's too late for that. It's too late. We know this is a capital murder case. We have motive. We're going to get even more of that motive now. We have suspects. They are being investigated, even internationally. We have institutional support more than ever now because the bread is baked and they want to take part. And I hope that's a good analogy of what we're going through. And, hopefully those interviews that we are having with press now will get out accurate stories, because I know from at the beginning it was a little disheartening how the stories would come out, right? And you learn from that. And we just want Richard's name out there. We just want his name out there. We want people saying his name because we have the evidence. We've done our homework now. We've done the hoeing and the work. And that work is not totally complete, but it's bearing a lot of fruit. And we're very grateful to you all for sticking with us, for helping us, and just read between the lines, right? As far as investigations go, you can watch what's happening over the border, because this is a big case. And we really, really appreciate it. And tomorrow I'll be back on and tell you a little bit more of what's going on. Okay. God bless you. Thank you so much. And, rest in peace, Richard. Rest in peace. That's what we want. And we want his remains. And we'll let you know more tomorrow. God bless you. And I think I got all the questions. I sobbed for you when the notice of death came. Thank you. Yeah. I have never cried with so many different emotions ever in my life. I mean, talk about it's like this unbelievable ride. So many reasons to cry, so many reasons to thank God. Um, I just can't even explain it. I guess I can explain it like childbirth, where you want to try to control your body, but you can't control your body, right? You can't. Your body just does its thing. And in this whole thing, um, trying to stay calm. Yeah. So thanks for crying for us. Um, Thanks for sharing. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for being here so late, burning the midnight oil again. Thank you so much. And we love you. And we'll be back tomorrow, God willing.